I dread conflict. I don't like it. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to like me. I don't want to get into any sort of conflict. And so for me, this has been something that I've had to learn.
Chad Peterman here, and you are listening to Can't Stop the Growth, a platform for leaders and teams to grow and thrive. We highlight the importance of personal development, pursuing greatness, and always chasing your potential. Let's get into it.
Excited to talk. Obviously, we kicked it off last week with 5 dysfunctions of a team. Andrew talked about the absence of trust and how we work to build trust, which is really the foundation in this model, right? If we don't have trust within the organization, within the department, within your individual relationships with the people that you lead, it's very difficult to address these other things. Today, we're going to talk about the fear of conflict. So that is the next kind of building block of the pyramid. And then next week, we'll talk about lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, and then followed by inattention to results. And so when we think about conflict, I think as a number of things that we've talked about as it relates to leadership, it can obviously get a bad name, right? We don't want conflict, right? We don't want, people to be at odds. And so what I think it's important to begin with kind of framing what is conflict. Is it something bad? No, it shouldn't be. Now, I think that a key to that, conflict is bad when there is no trust, right? When two opposing sides come with different viewpoints and there is no trust within that relationship, well, then it's a bad thing, right? Egos get hurt, feelings get hurt, all of the things. And so as we talk about this, what I encourage you to do is reframe your feelings on conflict. What is conflict? And so when I think about our business and where conflict has arose, there was a day when we were smaller where there wasn't a whole lot of conflict. It was kind of like, well, Chad said to do it this way, so go do it, which worked okay, but we probably broke a lot of shit because I don't have all the answers. And so I think what we've worked towards and gotten a whole lot better at is creating an environment where people can voice their opinion. Well, hey, I don't know that we should do it like that. Or did we think about it like this? Or what if we did it this way? Whatever it may be. And I think that's important because our company is unique in the fact that we continue to grow. We continue to change. We continue to evolve. We continue to develop. And when you're changing within an organization, you have to have conflict. If it is just everybody does what this person says to do, but in the back of your mind, you're like, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard in my entire life. Well, you're not going to get a whole lot accomplished. And so I think for us, it's trying to find opportunities to create conflict sounds bad. It is more so have healthy debate. And that's the way that I would like to reframe, conflict is how do we continue to find areas where we can have healthy debate? Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a point of view. Everybody's got experiences that have shaped their kind of view of how we should do things, which is great. We need everybody's perspective in crafting the best plan forward. And then knowing that sometimes the best plan forward doesn't work. Or better said, especially with the environment that we live in, with technology, with all of the things going on, a lot of the times a good plan needs to change. Like it's healthy for it to change, because to think that you laid out the greatest plan on the face of the earth that will withstand all outside forces, all changing environments, all of these things is somewhat naive, don't you think? Like it's gotta change at some point in time. Oftentimes it's maybe a little bit late. Not too many times do we change things before we see something coming. We try, but that's really hard to do because you don't know what the future holds. And so as we think about this, why do we fear it so much? Like, why do we fear conflict? I've told you before, I dread conflict. I don't like it. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to like me. I don't want to get into any sort of conflict. And so for me, this has been something that I've had to learn, because I have to, as a leader, I have to be able to facilitate this to where I don't get my feelings hurt, I don't hurt somebody else's feelings. And so I think it's important to grapple with, why do you fear it? And there's a number of reasons, right? The fear of being disrespectful. That's a big one for me. I don't want to like rain on someone's parade. Like, we all should just be happy. Like, I don't understand why people are upset. Maybe past experiences where conflict, you were in maybe an environment that lacked trust, and it was like always like people at their throats and like, what the hell are you talking about? What is this? And what do we always talk about here? What do we pride ourselves on? What do we have an award for? Get shit done. Do I think that's important? 100%. It has led us to where it's at. But we also have to be aware that sometimes it's better to move a touch slower and have that healthy debate to figure out how we can effectively get shit done. And so to me, as I was thinking about preparing this, I'm like, oh shit, like there's a lot of things that make us unique. There's a lot of things that make us really good, but also sometimes we have to take a step back and figure out, okay, what is the best path forward that we're going to go work our ass off and get something done? What does that look like? And I think the other piece is having these conversations can be tough if we don't know how to have them, right? Like, that's always my biggest fear. Like, I don't know how to approach it so that no one does get their feelings hurt, or we can have a healthy debate, or it doesn't become heated, or whatever it may be. And so when we think about what happens when we do avoid this, well, we talked about a few, right? Like stuff, we may run as fast as we can, but we're running in the wrong damn direction. Or, we're slightly off course. And if we would have taken the time to really get everybody's point of view and understand that, then we could have made a better decision. And I think a lot of that comes down to, think about when you're working with a field professional. A lot of the times, to create healthy debate in those conversations, we've got to be able to ask the right questions. We've got to be able to explain the why. Simply pointing out that someone's conversion rate is not where it needs to be, is that really leading? I'm pretty sure they know it's not where it's supposed to be. They have a damn dashboard on their iPad that says, this is my conversion rate over the past 6 months, 3 months, 1 month. Like, they're aware. You don't need to point it out. They know, or they should. But more importantly, when we think about how do we create healthy debate, it's asking, help me understand what you're struggling with. Can I provide some feedback? I noticed on your tickets that you're only providing 2 options. What would it look like if you presented 6? It's asking these inquisitive questions to, again, facilitate. And you may not think, well, if I have a one-on-one with a field professional, like, there doesn't need to be any debate or conflict or anything like that. But it's your goal as the leader to create that. Now, it may have a different name. That different name may, how do I get somebody to think a little bit differently? How do I dig in with the right questions to understand, why are they struggling? We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. If you took all your technicians whose conversion rate is not where it's supposed to be, do you think they all have the same damn problem? No. They've all got their own individual problem as to why it's not where it is. Some may struggle with presenting options. Some may struggle with building options. Some may struggle with handling objections. Some may struggle with putting a smile on their face to like get the customer to actually want to do business with them. They're all individual. But the more debate, the more conflict, the more questioning that you can create within these meetings, the better results you're going to get. We're just in a meeting, what was it? Yesterday. It's only Tuesday. Yesterday. And we were talking about a field professional that had been struggling. And when I say struggling, like literally every meeting, his name got brought up as to, this ain't no good. And then it was told to me yesterday that we had a meeting with this person last week, like call it Tuesday of last week, had a meeting. I don't know what was said in the meeting, but I'm going to guess it was good because the guy went out and sold a water heater every day after that. Now, did he just randomly feel that, like, maybe I should present a water heater today? No, he didn't. It's not like he just was doing a shitty job on purpose before. I hope not. I'm going to guess not. No, my guess is that the person that had that conversation created a little bit of conflict. Asked maybe why they were struggling, where they could help. What did that look like? Again, the goal isn't to always be in harmony. It's to create progress. And we create progress by vetting ideas, by figuring out, well, does that work? Well, maybe we should do it this way. Well, what's that look like? Well, this is my perspective. This is what I've learned from when we did it 3 years ago. But maybe it'll work this time. Who knows, right? Maybe. Maybe things have changed and that way will work. How do we create an environment where we are seeking to understand? As a leader, it is not our job to go into one-on-ones and service meetings and rattle off a bulleted list of everything that the department is doing wrong. You're doing this, do this. Why aren't you doing this? Do that. No, we have to understand. What would it look like instead of in a service meeting if, the team is struggling with, use any example, membership conversion? Rather than say, sell more memberships, please. What would it look like if we facilitated a discussion where we broke them up into groups and said, hey, our goal as a company is to sell more memberships because that means not only more work for our department, that means more work for every department. Why don't you guys strategize on ways that we could do that better? And what if you put into each group someone who's doing really well at it, along with people who aren't doing so well, and for them to share ideas, for them to debate with each other? Well, I do it this way. Well, I've seen some success when I present it over here in addition to this, or whatever it may be, right? There's a million ways to skin the cat. There's a million ways to sell a membership, right? So how do we create that environment? So think about that. Think about your next meeting. Think about your next one-on-one. How are you going to create an environment built on trust where people can debate without putting each other down, without getting their feelings hurt, without letting their ego get in the way? How do we create that? I'm going to tell you some ways to do that here at the end. Think about when you had a really good meeting. Typically, really good meetings involve some sort of debate. It is not like there's no reason to have the meeting if everybody just agrees. Like, you didn't need to have the meeting. You just needed to do whatever it is that you all agreed upon before. So think about that. Think about the good meetings that you've had, like, oh my gosh, we really accomplished a lot. My guess is there's going to have been some conflict within that meeting. And what conflict pushes us to do is to build a better idea. Let me give you an example. So when it comes to conflict, Michael and I conflict on how we think we should move forward. Now, keep in mind, when he started here, I told him he needs to be the purveyor of conflict. Like, he needs to do that because I struggle with it. I need you to do this. So when I come up with a whiz-bang idea, I want you to challenge the shit out of me onto why does this make sense? Or how are we going to pull this off? So what that's done for me is anytime I come up with an idea, all I think about is, okay, well, how am I going to sell this to him? But doesn't that make my idea better? Because I really thought about it? Whereas in the past, if there was no one to challenge me, I would just fucking do it. Who cares? Let her rip. And so it has been so good for me to have someone like that challenge it. Well, no, you can't do that. Well, why not? But again, that healthiness, there would be a point where I would just say, well, sorry about your luck. I'm going to do it anyway. But what I've understood is that that wouldn't be healthy conflict. That would create distrust. Like, what? You don't value my opinion? Like, I have a perspective from, this side of the table, and I don't think we should do that. Okay, well, let's go back to the drawing board. How should we do that? Like, I'm working on a few things right now that, like, I think are really good. I was thinking about it over the weekend, and I'm like, shit, I have got to figure out. And it's usually like, how are we going to pay for something, right? It's like most of my ideas cost money, unfortunately. And I got some good ones. But, a lot of them, I'm like, okay, how am I going to pitch this idea to him? Well, so I just started like thinking through this. And all of a sudden I had this like thing like, okay, I think I figured it out. Like, this is how we could pay for this without spending any extra dollars, but like, where could we find dollars, and like, where could we adjust this program to generate this amount of dollars to pay for this? And then we solve like 3 problems instead of 1. But that is the result of healthy conflict, because I know he's going to challenge me. I've got to have something ready, or else I'm going to look like a giant idiot. So think about that. Who are those people within the organization or within your life that challenge you on stuff? A lot of times it may be your spouse, right? I had dinner with mine last night, and I have this like thing, and she's like, well, did you think about it like this? I'm like, no, I don't want to think about it like that. I want to think about it how I'm thinking about it. Well, maybe you should. Well, yeah, I get it. All right, keep eating. Where can we find these opportunities? Where could we maybe help someone out that looks to us for advice to challenge them? It's when we embrace that. So it's twofold, right? As leaders, we have to create opportunities to have conflict, to have debate. But we also have to realize that we need to be open as well to taking feedback. Because when we're not, there's not a whole lot of trust built within that organization. It's like, yeah, we'll have some conflict, but at the end of the day, it's probably just going to be what I say. If that's cool with you. Well, no one's going to debate at that point in time. I always think a great barometer of this is when you roll something out and there are no questions, that's probably a bad thing. I know from experience. Everybody good? Yep. And they wander out in the hallway, and then it's like, oh my God, no one understands what the hell's going on. It's like, well, then I've done a terrible job at delivering this message. Or more, I've done a terrible job at creating an environment where people feel comfortable raising their hand and saying, hey, I don't understand this. Or how is that going to work? Or what do we do there? And so what I would tell you is work from both angles to create that environment. If you're sitting in a meeting and someone's leading it and someone comes up with this whiz-bang idea and you think there may be some issues, then raise your damn hand. And you don't have to say, hey man, your idea, it sucks. I have a better one. It's more so like, help me understand that a little bit more. What are you trying to get at? What are we actually trying to solve here? Because oftentimes when people come with a new idea, what happens? We get excited. We don't think through it. We don't think about all the variables, and we just throw it out there only for people to, like be confused. Well, that's no way to get an idea across. Now, there may be changes that need to be made. It may be a great idea. And like everybody's like, yeah, that makes total sense. Well, then you probably did a good job of delivering that message. So when we think about how do we build this healthy conflict? So we've got it from both sides. We need to be an active member in the meetings that we're in. And then we also, as a leader, need to create an environment of trust so that the people that we lead, when we meet with them, feel comfortable enough to raise their hand and ask questions and create debate and talk through ideas and try to figure out the best way forward. So how do we do that? Well, obviously, it starts with trust. So how are you building trust with your team? What's that look like? The ability to create conflict and to create an environment where it's okay, don't you think that builds a hell of a lot of trust? Like, hey, I want you to like push back on my ideas. I want you to question what I have and figure it out. Because if they don't trust you, do you ever think that they're going to share how they really feel? Do you ever think a field professional is going to tell you, I am petrified of talking to strangers? No, they're not going to say that. It's when we create these relationships, when we ask someone, how's your weekend? How are the kids? What'd you do? All of these things that build trust, build friendships, build camaraderie. That's part of building that relationship. There's probably a hell of a lot more conflict and debate with your best friend than there is maybe with a coworker, right? Why is that? Well, because you trust them, right? You may argue to the wee hours of the morning. Trust me, I've got friends. I'm like, how late were you up? What were you talking about? I went to bed. And they just love to do it. I think the other thing is to make sure that everybody is playing by the same rules, right? Setting kind of your rules of engagement. Because what do we often do is we talk without ever listening. We don't listen to what their true problem is. And listening is even more critical because oftentimes when people are embarrassed, afraid, scared, what do? They don't tell you how they really feel. They may say something slightly towards it, but it takes listening and understanding, there's more to it than this. Let me ask another question to see if I can dig a little bit deeper. It's in that digging that we finally find the true answer, right? Hey, I noticed you're struggling out there. What's going on? Oh, I just had a bad week. Customers are not friendly and things are, this, that, and the other, right? Anyone ever heard that before? Is that really why they're struggling? No. Well, tell me a little bit more about that. Well, this, that, and the other, right? We talk about it all the time. Scams, right? That's not really the reason why you're struggling. But it's seeking to understand, why is that? Hey, man, I trust you. What's really going on here? Like, how can I help you? Then we truly get to, my uncle passed away and I was really close to him and I've just been kind of down in the dumps. Oh man, completely understand. Like, hey, let's work through that, whatever help you need from me or, whatever. But just know I'm here. Oftentimes it's stuff outside of work that is affecting what they're actually doing. And building that environment of trust, building that relationship with the people that you lead, you don't have to be best friends. You don't have to have everything in common. You just got to be understanding, right? I mean, the amount of people that I talk to about hunting around here, and I have no desire to hunt. I don't even understand it. You sit in a tree all by yourself. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's not exciting to me. But, hey, there's people that find that super exciting, and I'm excited for them. Go get you a big one, right? I won't be out there. Seems cold. But set those rules because that will help you facilitate that environment. And the other is being able to ask great questions. This is another thing I struggle with. I don't understand how to ask great questions. But here's a few. Can I challenge that thought? I see it differently. Can I explain why? What if we're wrong about this? I think another one is, what are we trying to solve? Oftentimes ideas get misaligned because we're not trying to solve the same problem. We think we are. But when we boil it down, it's like, well, what are we trying to actually solve here by changing this process? That creates alignment. The other one is, are you open to some feedback? What does that do? Well, that gets consent to give feedback rather than just giving it to somebody. Most people aren't going to say, no, I'm not really open to that. So if you keep that to yourself, it's not going to happen. If it does, let me know. It's weird. I think another one that I oftentimes think about is, so I'm a member of like a networking group, and like they like teach you how to like have these conversations. And one of the things that they always say is don't ever tell someone what to do. Tell them from your experience. So if a technician is struggling with something, I don't know, average ticket, rather than say, hey, you're really struggling with your average ticket, like you need to do this and this, or what does that look like, is, hey, when I did this, or in my experience, even if you've never ran a service call, there's probably things in your life where you struggled with something. Explain what you may have done. It's not an outward, like, you need to do this, because people are very reluctant to do what someone else says. They want to come to the conclusion on their own. So how do you facilitate an environment where people can come to the conclusion on their own? Hey, when I was out in the field and was struggling with this, this is like a couple of things that I did that I felt like I saw results from. Oh, okay. They're not going to openly tell you, yeah, I'm wrong, I should probably do that. No, they're going to go out and try it, hopefully, moving forward. But it's that digging, understanding that, hey, I'm just trying to give you a little bit of my perspective. I'm not telling you how to do anything. You're a great technician as it is. But here's what I found in my experience. The other is celebrate it. So if you're in a meeting and there is debate, how can you celebrate that? Oh, this is really good. We got two opposing sides here. Let me go up to the board and let's start, pros and consing this out. Let's hear your side, and then let's hear this side, and then let's maybe put these things together, and maybe we'll find the best solution. Let's figure out what that looks like. How can you be a better facilitator when that conflict is happening? Because oftentimes when conflict happens, what do we want to do? Shut it down, right? I want to shut it down. Well, how do we embrace it? And there's a proper way to embrace it. And I think the best way to do it is call it out. Ooh, it seems like we differ in views here. This is great. I think we're going to come to a better solution than if everybody agreed on one thing. What are all the bad things that could happen if we make this change? Everybody okay with that? What's this look like? Because when you create this conflict, all of a sudden you have a group idea that everyone is bought into, as opposed to one person's idea who's in charge and we're just going to do it that way. The other piece is, what can you do as the leader outside of facilitating it? Well, you can model this behavior. You can use some of the questions that we talked about when someone does have an idea, even if you agree with it. Are there questions that you could ask to clarify what's going on? Well, did we think about this? And they may have the answer for it. That's great. But again, at least you ask the question. Because the more that we model this, the better results that we get, the faster we can move. It may seem slow at the beginning. It's like, just do the damn thing already. But at the end of the day, it's slow down to speed up. Because if we vet the idea and really get it locked in, think about how much faster you can go 6 months from now. And there's a balance there, right? It doesn't need to be 100% perfect. You're going to break shit because it's impossible to think about and or to come up with all of the variables that could affect that outcome. So I'm a big believer in let's get it 70% of the way there, and then let's actually try something. Because oftentimes when we wait till 100, we've debated the shit out of this thing, and we get to, we're 100% confident, what happens? It still breaks. But we have to be okay with it breaking. And when it breaks, again, the conflict is not, well, you were wrong. The conflict is, well, We learned what not to do. Let's figure out what to do. And understanding that idea, once it gets to that point, it still may change. It's probably good that it does. Because again, no one in the history of anyone has built something that has just stayed the same. You know? We're not still driving the Model T around. You know? Got electric cars and all kinds of fandangled things. And again, the biggest key in creating this is the ability to listen. Because a lot of conflict is bred out of us never listening. A lot of conflict is never understanding why someone is in disagreement. So as you go today, think about the meetings that you're in. Think about the discussions that you're having. Think about the relationships that you have. Are people willing to engage in debate? Are they willing to step out of their comfort zone and raise their hand and say, I don't understand, or I don't think this is the right way, or let's talk about this more, or what are we actually trying to solve, or tell me why you think that? All of these questions. Think about your next meeting that you're going to hold. How can you create some debate? Some good, healthy debate. How can you moderate it so that everybody feels heard? So that you come up with a better solution in the end. Try to find that conflict, that debate within the relationships that you hold. To me, once you build a environment of trust, then that conflict can create something really special.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to connect with me personally, you can find me at chadmpeterman.com. To see what our team's up to, you can visit petermanbros.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel and consider joining the CSTG arena. As always, keep growing out there.